the Great Marcus Mosiah Garvey. This is going to be a real good one, and you can learn a lot about Mr. Garvey and what he was trying to push as far as bringing black people together, not only in America, but worldwide. Stay tuned. Today I want to talk about Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was born in Jamaica, black nationalist leader of the Pan-African movement, was sought to unify and connect people of African descent worldwide. In the United States, he was a noted civil rights activist who founded the Negro World newspaper, a shipping company called the Black Star Line, and the Universal Negro Improvement Association, or UNIA, a fraternal organization of black nationalists. As a group, they advocated for separate but equal status for persons of African ancestry, and as such, they sought to establish independent black states around the world, notably in Liberia on the west coast of Africa. Marcus Mosiah Garvey was born on August 17, 1887 in St. Ann's Bay, Jamaica, to Marcus Garvey Sr. and Sarah Jane Richards. His father was a stone mason, and his mother was a household servant. Though the couple had 11 children, only Marcus and one other sibling survived into adulthood. Wow. Garvey attended school in Jamaica until he was 14 when he left. Imagine you leaving home at 14. When he left St. Ann's Bay for Kingston, the island's national capital, where he worked as an apprentice in a print shop. He later said he first experienced racism in grade school in Jamaica, primarily from white teachers. While working in the print shop, Garvey became involved in the labor union for print tradesmen in Kingston. This work would set the stage for his activism later in life. Garvey spent time in Central America, where he had relatives, before moving to London in 1912. While in Britain, he attended the University of London's Birkbeck College, where he studied law and philosophy. He also worked for a Pan-Africanism newspaper and led debates at Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park, London, a famous spot in the city for public discourse even today. Universal Negro Improvement Association. After 2 years in London, where he received an education that would likely have been unavailable to him in the Americas because of his color of skin, Garvey returned to Jamaica. It was during this time that he started the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Garvey also began corresponding with Booker T. Washington, the African-American leader, author, and activist who had been born into slavery. Wow. And in 1916, Garvey boarded a ship bound for the United States, where as a dramatic, invigorating public speaker, he intended to go on a lecture tour. He ended up settling in New York City, where he first spoke at the famous St. Mark's Church before embarking on a 38-city speaking tour. He also took on work in a print shop to make ends meet. While in New York, he authored the Declaration of Rights of the Negro Peoples of the World, which was ratified at the convention of the Universal Negro Improvement Association at Madison Square Garden in 1920. it was during this meeting that Garvey was also elected provisional president of Africa. Provisional president of Africa. Marcus Garvey quotes, and in black nationalism, if you want liberty, you yourself must strike the blow. If you want to be free, you must become so thorough your own. You must become. Well, let me start over. If you must be free, you must become so through your own effort. Until you produce what the white man has produced, you will not be his equal. Black Star Line. Garvey established the first U.S. chapter of the Universal Negro Improvement Association in 1917 in Harlem, and began publishing the Negro World newspaper. Soon his speaking engagement took on an angry tone. Why wouldn't he? I mean, he's probably facing all kind of rejection, facing all kind of blowback from, the whites. In which he questioned how the United States could call itself a democracy when across the country people of color were still oppressed. By 1919, that's because they didn't look at black people as people. So you can only oppress people. If you looking at people that's not people, you can tell yourself this is not a person, then of course you can oppress other people. Even white people have even done that to their own people. The English did it to the Scottish and the Germans and whoever else they wanted to. Let's see. Not long after the Black Star Line had purchased its first ship, the SS Yarmouth, and rechristened it the SS Frederick Douglass, the company began its African Redemption Liberia program with the idea of establishing a nation on the west coast of Africa for African Americans or those who were born into slavery or were the descendants of enslaved people. Garvey was married twice. His first marriage to Amy Ashworth, who was a fellow activist in the Universal Negro Improvement Association, ended in divorce in 1922. A lot of pressure, man. When you pushing against the system, it's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure being married anyway. So, I mean, on top of that, a lot of pressure when you're pushing against the system. Later that year, Garvey married Ann Jacobs, who was also active in social causes. The couple had two sons together, Marcus Mosiah Garvey III and Julius Winston Garvey. Later, J. Edgar Hoover spied on Marcus Garvey. Because of his outspoken activism and black nationalism, Garvey became a target of J. Edgar Hoover at the Bureau of Investigation, a precursor to the FBI. The Bureau of Investigation began investigating Garvey on charges of mail fraud in connection with a brochure for the Black Star Line that included a photo of a ship before the company actually had a vessel in its fleet. Hoover, who referred to Garvey as a notorious Negro agitator. See, you're an agitator. When you want freedom, you're an agitator. Even hired the first black FBI agent in 1919 to spy on Garvey. In 1923, after a controversial trial, Garvey was found guilty of these charges and sentenced to a maximum of 5 years in prison. Even though they had two ships already, the guy, Marcus Garvey, got convicted. He was sentenced to a maximum of 5 years in prison. He blamed a Jewish judge and Jewish jurors for his conviction, saying that they sought retribution against him after he had agreed to meet with the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan several months prior to the trial. Yeah, man, Marcus Garvey wasn't tripping. If you was gonna give us some money to get out of here, Marcus Garvey's like, give me that money. I'm with it. I don't care what your plan is. As long as I'm gone when you get your plan together, I'm gone. Garvey believed that he and the KKK shared similar views on segregation, given that he sought a separate state for African Americans. Well, I mean, if we can't get what we need from, this state, then I mean, that's the only other logical situation is for us to get it someplace else. If you're not going to do business with us and you're not going to let us go to church with you and you're not going to let us in your stores, then we might as well go get our own stuff, right? Right. Anyway, he began serving his sentence in Atlanta prison in 1925. It's from there that he authored his famous paper, First Message to the Negroes of the World from Atlanta Prison. In it, he wrote, after my enemies are satisfied in life or death, I shall come back to you and serve, even as I have served before. In life, I shall be the same. In death, I shall be a terror to the foes of Negro liberty. If death has power, then count on me in death to be the real Marcus Garvey I would like to be. If I may come in an earthquake or a cyclone or a plague or pestilence, or as God would have me, then be assured that I shall never desert you and make your enemies triumph over you. I shall never desert you and make your enemies triumph over you. Okay. After prison, when he was released from prison in 1928, after serving 3 years of his sentence, Garvey traveled to Geneva, Switzerland, to speak to the League of Nations on issues of race and the worldwide abuse of people of color. Same trouble Malcolm X got into. And a few months later, he returned to Jamaica, where he established the People's Political Party, the nation's first modern political organization. Its platform focused on workers' rights and the poor. In 1935, Marcus Garvey returned to London, where he lived and worked until his death at age 52. Marcus Garvey died on June 10, 1940, from complications brought on by 2 strokes. Due to World War II travel restriction, he was originally buried in St. Mary Roman Catholic Cemetery in Kinsale Green, London, but on November 13, 1964, his body was exhumed and buried beneath the Marcus Garvey Memorial in National Heroes Park in Kingston, Jamaica. While in London, Marcus Garvey continued to write and coordinated establishment of the School of African Philosophy in Toronto to train future leaders of the Negro Improvement Association. By then, the organization had more than 1,000 chapters worldwide. Although his legacy as a leader and activist lives on, Garvey's separatist and nationalist views were not embraced by many of his peers. Well, see, now here's the thing. What do you do? Now, Garvey looked at it like this. Hey, these people don't want us in their stores. They don't want us in their churches. They don't want us in their stores, their churches. They don't want to go on vacation with us. They don't want us on their ships. They don't want us on their airplanes. They don't want us on none of their stuff. So if they'll just give us the money to help us get our own, that's cool. He was a realist, you know what I mean? So that's just the way he was. It wasn't him being a separatist. It was him accepting the separatist doctrine that was put in his face and trying to be sensible about it. In fact, W.E.B. Du Bois and the end of the NAACP famously said, Marcus Garvey is the most dangerous enemy of the Negro race in America and in the world. Wow. Ooh, holy smokes. However, Garvey supporters prefer to discuss his key message, which was steeped in African American pride. After all, he is credited with coming up with the phrase "Black is beautiful," and his philosophy is perhaps best exemplified in the following quote: "We must canonize our own saints, create our own martyrs, and elevate to positions of fame and honor Black men and women who have made their distinct contributions to our racial history. I am the equal of any white man. I want you to feel the same way. Yeah, man. I mean, he just felt like, hey, man, we not super stupid to be having white people having nice, clean running water, and we have dirty water when we can figure out how to do it ourselves. We good in math, we good in everything, taught them pretty much everything. But W.E.B. Du Bois and the NAACP, they want to be with white people. They want white people to some kind of way turn over this new leaf where they're going to say, I'll accept you in. And that's cool too, but we don't have to wait for that. If you don't have to wait for that, right? You know what I'm saying? White people in England, man, they didn't wait for the King of England to say, hey, I'm going to tolerate all religions no matter what you want to do and how you want to do it. They didn't say we're going to wait until then. They said, man, we out. You don't want us here and you don't want to do business with us and everything. Everything that they put you through, they was going through it in England. And then they stood up and fought back and fought the king and was willing to die for this country that they didn't even, it wasn't even there. It wasn't even their call. The English government paid for everything to come over here. It was all equipment they paid for and gave them to come over here. But hey, the white people over here fought the white people over there because they felt like, hey, we can't, if you don't, because I'm a Lutheran and you a Methodist, you don't want me in your church, you won't do business with me, you have me living with rats. No, I'll go over here and then when they come over here, they had their own everything. So then they said, why should we pay the king taxes? Well, he ain't over here, we're here. We got our own country, we got our own continent. Why should we pay them? Why should we be at their, and they fought them and killed a lot of white people doing it. My point is this. Marcus Garvey wasn't even talking about killing nobody. He was just saying, hey, I'll take help from the Klan. That's how desperate this man was. The man was taking help from the Klan. You think he didn't know who the Klan was? Of course the man knew who the Klan was. But that's what I'm saying. He didn't, but they try to sometimes make it so that, they call him a separatist when he wasn't the one creating this separate situation. He was just responding to that situation, saying, okay, let's be intelligent. If you don't want us with you and you are that is clearly the sentiment, then, hey, we should do the next best thing, and which is get our own situation going. That way, you don't have to deal with us, and we don't have to stress of dealing with you. You don't have to stress of dealing with us, and we can have our own thing, and we can move at our own pace instead of the pace you've given us. I mean, that makes sense, right? Take my hat off to Marcus Garvey, man. It took a lot to do all of the stuff that he was doing in the time that he was doing it, and pretty much, have the United States of America on your heels, you know what I mean, and convict you of mail fraud, even though it wasn't mail fraud. If you by the time, you get the stuff that you advertise, you have it, but the government seizes it. I mean, of course it's going to be mail fraud then because you seized the assets. Anyway, all of us owe a great deal of gratitude to Marcus Garvey. He laid a lot of groundwork for a lot of the struggles that we were faced with, and we ultimately were able to overcome through later protests and marches or whatever, if you will. So, peace to the brother Marcus Garvey, and peace to his family, and let's keep that spirit going of sensible response to illogical maneuvership. Peace.